There is something strange, almost tragic, about the human condition. We are the only species capable of reflecting on our own existence, and yet, that very ability often becomes the source of our deepest suffering. Self-awareness, the crown jewel of human consciousness, is both a gift and a curse. It allows us to understand ourselves, to observe our own minds, to shape our destiny. But it also exposes us to a kind of existential vulnerability, a raw awareness of our flaws, our limitations, our mortality. Fernando Pessoa, the great Portuguese poet and philosopher, understood this paradox intimately. His writings reveal a man almost painfully aware of himself, so much so that his life often felt like an endless mirror, reflecting reflections until the image itself dissolved. The gift of seeing yourself. At first glance, self-awareness seems like an undeniable good. It allows us to grow. It helps us recognize our patterns, our mistakes, our biases. Without it, we would be prisoners of our impulses, unable to see beyond the narrow bubble of our own instincts. Think about it. A person without self-awareness can cause harm without realizing it, remain stuck without questioning why, or live a life that is entirely dictated by outside forces. Self-awareness frees us from that prison. But Pessoa reminds us that the more we see ourselves clearly, the more we also become strangers to ourselves. Because every observation changes the thing being observed. To watch yourself too closely is to begin living in your own shadow. The curse of over-observation. Here's the paradox. To live fully, you must be in the moment. But to understand yourself, you must step out of the moment and observe. And the more you observe, the harder it becomes to simply live. It's like standing on a stage, trying to act naturally, while also being the director in the audience, critiquing every move you make. Pessoa seemed to live in this constant double existence. He once wrote, "I've always belonged to what isn't where I am, and to what I could never be. A mind that is both here and somewhere else entirely." This is the danger of too much self-awareness. It can paralyze you. It can turn action into hesitation, experience into analysis, joy into commentary. Why the modern world makes it worse. If Pessoa struggled with self-awareness in the early 20th century, imagine what he would think of us today, living in an age where self-observation has been industrialized. Social media, constant feedback, curated identities. We have become performers in our own lives, forever aware of how we appear to others. Even our private thoughts feel like they are being watched. We measure our happiness against strangers' highlight reels. We document our moments before we live them. We think about how we look when we laugh, instead of simply laughing. In this way, self-awareness has shifted from a tool of growth into a kind of performance anxiety. A never-ending mirror that makes us forget what we actually look like without it. The Pessoa paradox. Pessoa's life offers no easy answer. He did not find a way to escape this paradox. Instead, he lived inside it, exploring its every corner through his writing. But perhaps that's where the lesson lies. The goal is not to eliminate self-awareness, nor is it to drown it out completely. It is to learn when to let go of it. Like a sailor who uses the stars to navigate, but does not spend the entire journey staring at them. We can use self-awareness as a guide, but not as a constant state of being. There is a time for reflection, and a time for forgetting yourself entirely. Pessoa's tragedy was that he rarely found that second state. But we can, learning to step out of the mirror. One way to loosen the grip of over-awareness is through what some philosophers call self-forgetting. This doesn't mean losing your identity. It means giving yourself permission to not be the observer for a while. It happens naturally in moments of deep creativity. When a musician is lost in their instrument, when a writer forgets the clock, when a child is playing without thinking about how they look while playing. These are the rare moments when we step out of the mirror and simply live, and strangely, when we stop trying to see ourselves, we often see ourselves most clearly. Not in the controlled, polished reflection of self-consciousness, but in the messy, unplanned expressions of living without watching. Self-awareness is not the enemy, but when it becomes constant, it robs us of the very life we are trying to understand. Pessoa's life is a cautionary tale, a reminder that thinking about living is not the same as living. And perhaps the terrible paradox of self-awareness is this: the more you try to truly know yourself, the more you risk losing the self you are trying to know. So if you find yourself trapped in that endless observation, remember, sometimes the greatest act of self-knowledge is to stop looking in the mirror